Hi, folks. Hi, this is Will Cook, and welcome to the Will to Win podcast. I'm your host. I've been doing coaching of people for 30 plus years in different capacities, and I've recently branched out to do a podcast, and this is probably episode six, I believe. The two gentlemen I have on today, I've worked with before. We've got Trent Mongero. Trent and I actually went to Yorktown High School together. He graduated a little earlier than I did. Trent has experience as a Division I baseball player, college coach. He's done some mentoring and hitting instruction and fielding instruction. He's a former scout and a dad. And we have Steve Springer, our former major leaguer, a gentleman who's really into the art of teaching hitting to professionals at this point. So, gentlemen, welcome. And if I left anything out, you can add in terms of your experiences and accolades. Um, so, guys, welcome back. And so, one of the things I'd like to start with today, because we not only do we want to appeal to peak performers, but we want to appeal to everyday people. Because listen, at the end of the day, we're all day-to-day people. We all experience life. We all, even if we shine in one area, we still have to go into the regular day-to-day stuff. And before people have gotten to the top, they had to start somewhere. So where I'd like to start is, all right, you guys are both coaches, right? And what happens on a roster where you have a being, somebody who is marginal, maybe they barely made the team, or they have maybe a good mentality, but they're maybe a younger guy in terms of the other guys. What do you do with that person that's at the end of the bench there? How do you incorporate them into the team? What kind of role do you give them? And what do you expect from somebody like that? Trent, you want to start with that?
Yeah, I was going to toss that to Spring because it sounds like a lot of his career early on in high school. But, I had to coach, and I still coach players that are in those roles. And I mean, the reality from a baseball standpoint is it's very difficult. Don't want to paint this picture like it's easy to incorporate because it's not basketball, it's not soccer, it's not football. We don't have offense, defense, special teams, first team, second team. In high school baseball, in particular, you have starters and non-starters, and non-starters can re-enter once, and then that's it. Starters can be taken out and put back in. So
Right.
there's not this free substitution going on, which makes it really challenging because if you want to keep players on your roster, you obviously want them to be a part of it and aspire to get on the field. You don't want them comfortable being on the bench. So roles are important and they can be various. It could be pinch running. A lot of times in high school, you can run for your pitcher, you can run for your catcher. So if you have somebody that's blessed with a little speed and instincts and you help coach them up, they can really help you from a base running standpoint, even be a pinch runner in a key situation, possibly score, a very important run. Of course, you got pinch hitting. You have defensive specialists that you can get out there to help. So being able to give to the team in some capacity. It could even be like helping keep score, seeing if we can like pick some tendencies up of the current pitcher. Bring energy to the guys on the field, be a great teammate.
Mhm.
All of those things are important. And to me, really it boils down to Will, like you have to recognize these things within the players themselves. So these guys, they feel like they're forgotten on the bench, right? They feel
Okay.
like they're forgotten. So, when they do something, when they make a major contribution, even when they're doing anything positive, you have to recognize that individually and in front of the team,
Okay.
to help them understand the importance that they have and that little things matter. All these
Mhm.
little things add up. So even if you get a chance just to help in a small capacity, it can literally win the game for us. Um, if you pick up the tendency of a pitcher and how he's holding his hand, and we're able to know what pitch is coming before he's throwing, that's a huge advantage. So I don't want to go on and on and on, but I do think it's critically important to recognize these things within the players so that they don't feel like they're forgotten, chosen over there on the bench, when they're not starters.
Okay. Good. So, Steve, and I'll ask for you to add to that in 1 second. One of the things that comes to mind is the movie Rudy. I don't know if the both of you have seen Rudy, but um, he he just, obviously wasn't the most gifted athletic specimen on the planet, but he worked so hard that he became such a vital part of the team because of that example. And then the team was rooting for him to be a part of the actual playing situation. They wanted to see him perform. They wanted him to get the opportunity because he was the underdog, and but he was also the heartbeat of the situation. So Steve, you had a chance earlier in your career. You saw your brother who had obviously a lot of talent. You had mentioned you were on the smaller side when you were, I guess, a freshman, and you were on the team, but you didn't get a lot of time. What was it like for you knowing you had all that heart and then also wanting to prove yourself? What was it like not getting the opportunity? What was it like for you to be on the bench, and how did you keep your psychology up?
Well, actually, I did it twice. Even when I got drafted, I didn't start the first month of the season. So when I go speak, I talk about, you know, how do you handle not playing? We all want to play, right?
Mhm.
Here's how you handle not playing, no matter what level you're at. You take batting practice like it's your game. If you're an infielder, you take ground balls during batting practice like it's your game. If you're an outfielder, you take fly balls during batting
Mhm.
practice like it's your game. And you pull for your buddies to win the game, and you be ready when the coach calls your name, because he will call your name. You want to be ready. You might get that opportunity. And when
Okay.
you get that opportunity, we need to take advantage of it.
Right.
But as far as not playing, you don't want to be a cancer on the team in the dugout, making people miserable. I know that, because you are talking to a guy that didn't start. I didn't start in high school. I got cut in college.
Mm.
I got cut when my brother was the best player on the team, which is baffling how bad the coach thought I sucked.
Wow.
I get a job at Disneyland working on the canoes, and 3 days later, three guys quit. My brother comes home with a uniform for me. So I've been battling my whole life, and I get drafted by the New York Mets. And now all of a sudden, I'm on a team. I make the low A ball team as the fifth outfielder. So for the first month of the season, I wasn't playing,
Right.
but I was ready. I was watching the game. I think that's one of the problems with baseball is too many guys sit in the bench. They watch the game like a fan
Mm.
instead of like you're going to get an at bat and start
Hmm.
thinking with the pitcher and creating instincts.
Right.
Because if you don't have instincts to play the game, stop dreaming about playing in the big leagues. It's not going to happen. It's hard
Right.
enough to play in the big leagues with instincts.
Right.
And coach and Trent's talking as a coach and what he wants you to do, and he's so right in making that player feel part of the team and building him up in front of his peers. You know, and it's just it's part of the game. It's the adversity that helped me, I think, do what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I mean, as a parent, we always want to put out these little fires for our kids, right?
Mhm.
As long as they're not getting hurt, let them go through some adversity,
Mhm.
of not
Yeah.
playing and how to handle it.
Yes. Yeah. Surmounting difficulty is the crucible that forms character. And I think there's too many helicopter and lawnmower parents out there that keep the kids from having experiences. And, Trent, we were talking about your experience in your podcast where you had a situation where you made an error and your coach benched you in the middle of the game or took you off the field in the middle of the game. And while that would have been felt maybe even scalding at the time, you also talked about what you did with that in terms of how it shaped you in a positive way. I mean, it sounds like it really affected you in the interim, but it sounds like in the long term, it really helped you.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, adversity, no matter what it is, and not playing, not starting is a form of adversity, right?
Hmm.
It challenges you every day. You have to make a change. Coaches are going to play the best players. I mean, there's always exceptions of politics or whatever, but everybody that I know that coaches wants to win, and the only way you win is you get your best players on the field. And so you got to be able to bring some value. Can you play multiple positions? That's another one we didn't talk about.
Right.
But adversity shapes us. It'll make you or it'll break you, or so when it comes to being a player, you have to be able to have these mechanisms of handling, disappointment and frustrations and, all of these things. And if you can't, if you're in the wrong sport with baseball, because it's going to beat you up. And like Steve talks about all the time, it's the most self-esteem,
Biggest self-esteem.
self-esteem, yeah,
Yeah.
defeating sport on the planet, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just is.
Okay, great. So, So let's talk about that battle there because, it's one thing to battle to make a team, but just because you made a team doesn't mean everything is okay because the work continues and the evolution continues. I mean, even Derek Jeter was in the minor leagues. He made 50, I believe it was 58 errors in one season. And he told his parents he was going to quit. They're like, "You're not quitting." And the Yankees said to him, "You're not quitting," because they saw something within him. So he had to find a way to get beyond that. And because otherwise, can you imagine if he quit? You know, look what he would have missed out on. But what would be an example of a reset? And I mean this on a day-to-day in the game. I know there's off-season work on an overall ideology or an overall psychology, but what's a short reset within a game? So, for example, if somebody's over three, they struck out three times, what's a way to gather themselves in between at bats? Steve, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, when I talk and when I speak and when I teach, too many players make it about them.
Mm,
And when they figure out it's not about them, it's about them helping their team. Those are two completely different players. Like I never mind being 0 for 4 in a game as long as it was a close game and I had a chance to be the hero in the ninth. I
mhm,
hated being 0 for 4 in a blowout and now I got to punch out against the backup right fielder. So I think when you change your thoughts to
mhm.
I'm here to help my team win the game.
Okay,
Why wouldn't I want the fifth at bat?
right.
Right. I mean, that's when heroes are made. But too
Mhm,
many players are letting yesterday's bad day mindset play today. But yet I got a new game, new pitcher, new hero tonight. I'm going to dictate how I feel and what I did last night. And I believe that's where the trap of baseball is. It's the trap of life is
mhm,
letting yesterday's bad day mindset play today. And this is why I love, the opening day, everyday mindset.
mhm,
And when you figure out it's not about you, it's about you helping your team. And it's opening day. I got no yesterday beating me up.
mhm.
Dude, there's freedom in that. It's freedom from yourself.
Mm,
And when I finally got to the big leagues after 9 years of playing in the minor leagues, I was not nervous hitting.
mm,
You're not supposed to get a hit. It's 9 against 1. I was nervous playing defense because you better make the plays or you're out of
mm.
there.
Right.
So it's all about the perspective of what you're thinking and what true success is on the mental side. And for me, it's definitely the opening day mindset, and it's all about winning the game. But we
Mhm,
don't. Too many players don't play to win the game. They play to get good stats. And
mhm.
I believe stats are evil. I believe stats are yesterday, and yet I got a new game, new pitcher, new here tonight. And I no part of yesterday's little 0 for 4 in my mind played my last 7, 8 years.
Okay. So there's a few things there. Um, and one is staying in the big picture of what's the real goal, and it's to help the team to get out of your individual place. So that will also free you up. It'll free your mind up a little bit. Um, um, so it'll free your mind up. And one of the things I noticed that in life that there is suffering and there's pain. And in the work I do, when people pain is not optional. Pain is going to happen in life. We have to figure out what we're going to do with it. In terms of suffering, suffering means we're focusing too much on ourselves. So one of the things we have to do is we have to focus on what you said, that bigger picture. When we get self-absorbed and it becomes all about us, that's where the suffering happens. So when we focus on the teamscape, that's what happens, and that's how we escape that single-mindedness. So we can go from, hey, let me use this pain as an asset to help, rather than, oh, I'm suffering, poor me, and be a pity party. Now, Trent, let me ask you, the year that you had that issue where you got pulled mid-inning, and that was devastating to you, were you able to recover from that within the season, or did it happen after the season?
I tried very difficult. I mean, I tried very hard to get through that difficult scenario. I felt like it stayed with me as baggage throughout that entire season. I could mentally, it was a hurdle that I've never had to experience before. Like we talk about, I never really had any serious adversity. I was usually the best player, relatively speaking, growing up, through ninth and 10th grade. I was brought up to the varsity, my sophomore year. And then now I'm going through these struggles. The coach pulls me, and it actually mushroomed into a much bigger mental issue, a throwing issue. I was afraid to make mistakes. So tension started entering into the game, tension started entering into my mind. Therefore, I was making more mistakes. I worked harder and harder and harder. That's the only thing I knew at the time. I didn't have anybody around me to coach me up mentally. All I knew to do was to spend more time. And the
Okay.
more time I spent, the higher my expectations got that I was over this. But it was constantly in the back of my mind. I couldn't be in the present.
You couldn't
And
be
again,
free.
I couldn't be free. There was zero freedom.
Okay.
And it
Wow.
literally it hung with me for, I mean, almost a year, really. I mean, almost a year. And I don't know why I pushed through. I think I told you I just had this internal part of me that I knew I was good enough and that somehow I was going to prove it to myself and really to others,
Okay.
that I was the player that I knew I was.
Hmm.
And, but it was serious baggage and it wore me down for a long time.
Did it feel lonely? Was it something you kind of carried
Oh,
with you?
super lonely. Again, I didn't have the faith peace I have now. It was really a
Wow.
journey by myself. I really wanted to sleep at the field. I'm not
Hmm.
even kidding. I wanted to sleep at the field because I couldn't wait for the next opportunity to try to overcome this adversity. It was like the only thing that mattered to me.
Hmm.
And I put, again, you can see like how my mind, I was obsessed with beating it, but being obsessed on beating these issues I was having, throwing issues, not being confident enough that if I made a mistake, I was going to be yanked out again. It just, it wore me down. It was a very lonely place.
Wow. And did you talk about it, or is it just that some things that people kind of knew from the outside as the don't address it, but it's going on for you?
I don't think many people really knew. My girlfriend knew,
Okay.
but it was affecting my relationships,
Okay.
because I was obsessed with greatness. I had goals, and I had worked my whole life. I was a worker, and I could not understand why in a practice scenario I could perform. And I'm not talking about I was making errors like every play. But every ground ball that was hit to me, it was literally on my mind that if I throw this ball away, I'm going to be taken out of this ball game. And
Wow.
hence, it's kind of like spring golf, right? The water's on the right. Where do you hit it? In the water, right? Like,
Right.
so it
Right.
was this self-fulfilling prophecy. And um, it would have helped tremendously to have podcasts and certainly a faith piece, which a lot of people don't give any credence to. To me, that provides freedom when you start to understand things are bigger than yourself. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but there's a lot of people that do want to hear that.
Hmm.
And I'll let Spring piggyback on some of this stuff because I know he also had his own personal battles at times.
So,
Well, I got taken out of a game in the middle of a game. We were up 7-0. The coach put me in, and all of a sudden they start creeping back, and it's 7-5, and I had one go through my legs, and all of a sudden, a guy's tapping me on the shoulder, go to the bench, and I'm like, what? But I don't know. It sucks, but it's as coaches, we have to be able to build our players up. You don't want your players playing with tension, anxiety, and pressure like Trent and I were doing. You want calmness, toughness, focus, having some fun, and giving them
mhm.
freedom to not be perfect.
Okay.
Perfect's a bad word because that'll turn you into perfectionist. And if you're a perfectionist playing this game, bro, get your resume ready because you think you got to be perfect. You're never going to be, so you're always mad and
Okay.
you're always pissed off. And how do you get labeled a great player when it's all said and done? You don't be perfect every day.
Well,
You
you
try to
use the
be good
intelligence.
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you try to be good every day, and then you're always a great player. But you want them playing with freedom. And
Mm.
sometimes as coaches, they take away the freedom, and now the kid's afraid to make a mistake. My son got the yips because he played for a yeller and a screamer, and he was afraid to make a mistake.
Hmm. Are you guys ready? And I've never said this before. I had the same coach as Trent for my junior year, and I was a catcher and I became an outfielder, but I was a catcher for many years, and I don't know what it was. I had trouble throwing the ball out to the pitcher for some reason, and he would scream at me, "Throw the damn ball!" And that was his way. And it certainly doesn't make you feel good about yourself, and it makes you live on the edge. And then it is perfection, and it's not fun.
You know?
Can
So, but
I add something?
that's the first time I've ever said that out loud, by the way, just so you know.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I think he did that to many people, and I've been coaching for 35 years now, and one of my, if there's any parents listening here, any coaches listening here, the greatest asset you have is providing freedom. Now, freedom and discipline go hand in hand. You just don't let players but we're talking about when it comes to playing the game. Physical mistakes are going to happen and they feed off of the coach. So if the coach's body language, his verbal language, his actions dictate, frustration and anger when you make a mistake, there's very few players out there that doesn't impact. Um, if the game is hard enough by itself, we don't need our coach beating us up. If the coach is preparing the player, then the coach has to let the player go play. It's a game, right? And the benefits of that is your players perform better. You
Mhm.
get rewarded. It's like so the more frustrated you get and the more you try to push people down and yell at them and show frustration, it actually just diminishes the level of your team. They don't
Wow.
perform up to potential, certainly not above potential.
Yeah.
And I think when you love on players, and you care about your players and you teach your players and you invest in your players, if you have to get on somebody because of a mental error, they're able to handle that. They understand that
Mhm.
you're coaching them up, but you can't beat people up for physical mistakes. It doesn't work. So I would highly encourage anybody listening to try to avoid that route if you're trying to get the best out of your players.
Yeah.
You hit it right on the nose, buddy. Because I played for a lot of coaches. I played 11 years in AAA, and I had some coaches that I would run through the wall for because I knew they loved me as a person more than
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yep.
I had a couple coaches where if I didn't get two hits, they wouldn't even say hello to you the next day. I'm
Right.
like, you get it. I had no shot. I want this guy as my coach.
Right. Yep. And you know what? What happens is what happens to many people, including in my profession outside of sports, a person will internalize all of that anger, shame, and that deep hurt turns to rage for a lot of guys. And shame is only because you're holding a secret. And so what you want is you want an open forum. You want a place that's safe where, even if the coach said, "Hey, I need to talk to you about that, you didn't run that ball out," and the guy's not happy, but he's not shaming the person. He's not like, making the person feel like they're a bad person, so to speak. And yeah, we can feel bad about a mistake, but we'd never want to believe that we are a mistake. And that's what with shame, we tend to internalize that. So there was a coach I had, Bob Girolamo. He was also my insurance guy for many years. He was my JV baseball coach. We were 8-0 that year, and he followed me to varsity. He was the offensive coordinator. I loved playing for him because he knew exactly when to push me and get a little stern, but he also knew how to inspire me. He knew how to like hit that right button as well. So if I did something wrong, I knew about it, but it wasn't that I felt like I was judged on that level of identity and that I wasn't shamed for it. It was more like, all right, you can do better than that. And I know you can because I love you and I care about you. That's the feeling you got. But with the other situation I was telling you about, I felt it was mean-spirited. I felt like I was subservient and being controlled. And how can you feel free in a situation like that?
Yeah. So to me, it's really what is the motive of the coach? Your football coach sounds like a guy where he was in it to develop men, to make better people, to make better players.
Mhm.
His heart was in the right place. When a coach is about themselves, their wins, their losses, their identity is on how the team is performing. And that's all they really care about. They really don't have any other deeper motivations. That surface level coach, a lot of times, is the one that you and I dealt with in baseball in high school, that will attack their players when things aren't going their way because they don't like the outcome,
Mm.
right? But when you're in it for the right reasons and you understand human beings, and that changes how you treat people. Your
Yeah.
motive changes how you treat people. So like, why are you in this? You know, if I'm in this just to win games, and that's all and it's about what kind of recognition I can get, you know, and that's it. Surface level, I'm a shallow human, and my motives are not in the right place. I'm way more likely to attack the things that don't allow what I want to happen. But if I don't care about those things, and I'm about the people, and I'm about process, and I'm about growth, and I'm about building, you know, then you you naturally treat people differently, just like your football coach did.
Oh,
So a
he was
lot of it
amazing.
to me, it comes down to the heart of the coach and the why that they're even coaching in the first place. I don't know, Spring.
Do you agree with
Thoughts?
that, Spring?
No, I'm good, buddy. We covered that one.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. There's something I want to shift gears just a little bit. A lot of times with different coaches, they have a mechanical approach. Some people have more of a mental approach. And some people have both. My camera's getting a little blurry, so I got to turn the camera on and off for a second. Okay. There we go. Um, so some people have both, where you're teaching a little bit of both. One of the techniques I know in NLP is it's called anchoring, and it's a technique that Tony Robbins used with many athletes and stuff. And it's the as if, so in other words, it's not getting somebody into the batting cage and then leaving feeling good. In other words, they were hitting the ball good, so they start to feel different. With anchoring, you have them go back to a time in their mind when they were hitting the ball at a high level. The ball was big, it was juicy, and you actually have them associate in their nervous system back to that moment. You have them describe what the ball looked like, you have them describe what their body felt like, and you get them into what I call state. And then you calibrate that state. You say, well, if that state was a level 10, what does it feel like right now? It's like 8 or 9. Okay. Breathe a little bit differently till you feel like you're fully integrated into that moment. And then you see the person's physiology change as if. So I want to ask you guys, both of you, Trent and Steve, I want you to think back to a time when you were in the zone hitting wise and the ball was huge and you're like, had the belief that I'm going to crush this or I'm going to hit this ball hard. Can you both think of a time in your baseball careers where you were on top of your hitting game?
Yes.
Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd like to think there were a bunch of times where I felt, I've gone 7 for 7, but I've also struck out 6 times in one day.
Okay.
If you play pro baseball and you get 5 at bats a day every day, whether you want them or not, there's going to be some good and there's going to be some bad. I remember I was in Norfolk playing Pawtucket and 3 game series. And on the 8th inning, we're down by a run. I hit a 2-run bomb. We held them and won the game. The very next night, 0-0 9th inning, 2 outs. I hit a walk-off. Very next day, 4th inning, bases loaded, grand slam. Come up in the 9th inning, tie score, walk-off hit. So I got 3 in a row, and I go by Clint Hurdle's office, and I'm like, bro, I'm ready. I'm not getting any better. And
Okay.
he's like, yeah, hang with it, buddy.
Okay. So Steve, take us back there for a second. Um, pick one of those nights and just go into your body for a second and just remember vividly, if you can, what that felt like. Can you do
Well,
that?
yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago, but it was like my body felt good. My approach was good.
Okay.
I hit a fastball one night, I hit a slider the next night, and I hit a changeup the next night.
Okay.
So I'm a huge believer on the mental side and hunting speeds. And, I'm not going to try and hit 95 and 79 at the same time till I have to. So it all comes into approach. But I was confident,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I got a wristband that says compete with confidence.
Okay.
And I believe if we had a game tonight, every single person listening to this will compete. They have
Okay.
to, they're in the game. But if they're
Okay.
not competing with 100% confidence, then something's wrong mentally. And it's usually yesterday's bad name mindset playing today, or you had 4 crappy at bats, and now we're in the 9th inning and you've lost a little bit of confidence,
Okay.
So we have to compete with confidence, not arrogance. Confidence is quiet, arrogance is loud.
Okay.
And, do I know I could hit? Or am I hoping to hit? I knew I could hit,
Hmm.
but you're talking to a guy that bailed, lunged, and had a bad eye. But I could hit because I had a good approach. I was a good competitor. I was a better competitor than I was a player.
Wow.
I didn't want to trade abilities with anybody. I love my abilities. I just learned, it's like Billy Bean's quote on my website. He said, Spring, if you knew this at 18 instead of learning it at 30, people might know who you are.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
I
He's
have a question.
right.
Yeah. So question for you, because it sounds like the mindset was a big part of it. That gave you the confidence as well. But when you said confidence is quiet, are you also saying that your mind is at ease when you're hitting well? Are you,
Yeah.
how do you know you're confident? What is it about your feeling? If you were to
Well,
step
it's
into,
from preparation. When you're
okay.
prepared, I'm not nervous. When people ask me if I get nervous speaking in front of 6,000 coaches, I'm like, yeah, if you ask me a chemistry question, we're
Right.
talking baseball, and I, both Trent and I, and not to brag, we got a PhD in baseball. I mean, I teach psychology. I can't even spell it, and it's just one of those things that, I learned different ways. And when I finally said I don't care anymore, when I got rid of stats, when I got rid of my batting average, the right guy was playing every single day. And that's why I got so many stories about big leaguers that heard my stuff. And, I met Ben Zobrist at a Christian retreat. He gave me the biggest hug I've ever had. He said, dude, you changed my life. He was 25 years old in AA. And 2 years later, he's a Major League All-Star because he said, I don't care anymore.
Uh-huh.
Non-confident Ben never played another game when he heard my audio.
Hmm.
And it goes back, if you like your abilities and your abilities aren't showing up, it's not your abilities problem, it's what you're thinking. And if this game wasn't about the mind and it wasn't about the approach, then every top 5 round pick should spend 10 years in the big leagues, and over half of them can't even get out of A ball, yet they
Hmm.
have ability.
Hmm.
So, what we're teaching here is right. It's just a matter of applying it.
Okay. So Trent, is your ideologies along that mindset that Steve's talking about a little bit different, same? What?
Well, Steve played a lot longer than me. Um, my collegiate career, the zone that you were talking about, I attribute probably to the second half of my junior year at UNC Wilmington. I just felt like nobody could get me out. Um, I was excited to hit, but I was quiet. Everything was just like almost in slow motion. The game like slowed down. Ball looked like a beach ball. Um, just
Hmm.
felt like I couldn't be beat. Like, and it all stems back to confidence, right? This big C word of confidence. And how do you build up to that? But success begets success. So the more success I had, the more I believed that I could have future success in those moments, like, and then for whatever reason, the stars line up, and instead of lining out to people, you're finding holes. Things just kind of stack up in this positive way, and they can stack up, like Spring said, in a negative way in 2 seconds. Like it can flip on you, and that typically happens when you get overconfident and you start disrespecting and you quit putting in your work, like your preparation.
Hmm.
I think people prepare a lot more. They're willing to prepare when they're not playing great. When things are kind of going well, the human nature is, well, maybe I don't, need to go through my process.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I remember it just being very quiet, very confident, slow heartbeat. Everything like Steve talks about and that part was real and authentic. It was
Hmm.
real and authentic. And I remember being in the opposite end of that spectrum where the heart was sped up, my mind was sped up.
Yeah.
Um, I unfortunately did not learn how to seek, pitches, to sit pitches based on situations and based on the pitchers arsenal. I was trying to hit everything always, and I got away with that in college. It wasn't until pro ball that the velo got to a point, on a regular night in, night out, where I, just being a reactionary hitter wouldn't work anymore. That's where it got me like my 230 batting average in pro ball, trying to be a reactionary hitter. Had I learned what Steve was preaching, if somebody would have taught that to me when I was playing, I sincerely believe, which doesn't mean anything to anybody but me, that I would have been a much better hitter. What that
Hmm.
would have looked like, I don't know. But I had the abilities. I was just the wrong approach. So, yes, I had the quiet mind. I had those zones. And then I had the flip flop. And, if I can find a way to bottle up the zone of my junior year, that second half, we could all be billionaires, and I think Springs really got the answer and what he
Yeah.
teaches.
Well,
So,
thank you. I also believe, when somebody asks me what comes first, success or confidence, for me, it's confidence. Because if you have success without confidence, I believe that's called luck. And this comes back to, do I know I can hit or am I hoping to hit? And, when you change what you think success is and what true success is hitting, it's hitting the ball hard. It's 90 against one, and we think we got to get a hit to have success. And then all of a sudden, we hit three balls right on the screws, right at somebody. And baseball says I suck. My batting average comes down. I think I failed. And now it's so easy for non-confident spring to start playing. But when you change what you think success is and you play every day like it's opening day and you plan on to give a crap what about me, you get what I'm talking about when you're 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts and you look at that lineup in the ninth and you say, I need two guys to get on so I can be the hero. Instead of oh crap, if two guys get on, I got to hit again
yeah.
because your stats are going down. I'll tell you the perfect analogy. And Trent, you know this. If you start off a game 2 for 2 and end up 2 for 5, it's a little buzzkill. If you start the game off 0 for 3 and end up 2 for 5, you're digging yourself. You're happy. It's such a what have you done for me lately game when you make it about you. And, I'm just so into, how do you win the game? And Augie Garrido, I mean, top coach in the country, told me that his favorite quote he's ever heard a coach say is, if you get 25 confident players playing and I don't give a crap about me, it's not about me, it's about me helping my team, two completely different players, and you get 25 guys playing with an opening day mindset every day, he said, that's brilliant. But we don't do it because day number 2 shows up and the stat book comes in. You know what the batting average is? It's yesterday. I got a new game, new pitcher, new hero tonight. That guy didn't even crap what I did yesterday.
Mm.
So it's just a matter of getting the right guy playing every single day.
hmm hmm So staying in the day. So it's almost like, okay, yeah, you're batting 350, but even a 350 hitter, that's still in the past. In other words, they each day has to be the new start, the new opening day. And um, and then also all the prep work can create that flow state because you can kind of let go. And so let me go to a couple examples, right? Michael Jordan used to say that he was like the puppeteer where he could slow the game down and he felt like he could do whatever he wanted. He was the master puppeteer. Or Wayne Gretzky was the guy that was anticipating the puck going to a place he knew it was going there before it went there. So that
Well,
flow
they
state,
have instinct. They have instincts off the chart, and
right?
that's what Trent's son had. Tabor,
Really,
instincts to spare, bro. What
really.
are instincts? Instincts are the ability to dictate what's going to happen before it happens. That's what instincts are. And Tabor was flooded with them. I felt I had them. I'm sure Trent had them. Instincts. If you don't have instincts, stop dreaming about playing in the big leagues.
Right, right. Trent, speak to Tabor's instincts for us.
Oh, well, I really don't want to sit here and talk about no one wants to hear me talk about my son. I will tell you that he was he was born up in the game, loved the game, was surrounded and blessed to be surrounded by people like Springer at a very young age, guys like Tim Hires, the current big league hitting coach for the Atlanta Braves. And and myself and the things that we preached and taught and team first and he bought into all of it and he watched the game. He loved the game. He spoke the game. And so when he got to college, even in high school, he was playing beyond his years. He was a coach on the field. I mean, that's why they hired him after 3 months of being out of the game by his alma mater at the Division I level. They hired him as a coach. I mean, I don't know how many, Spring can maybe answer. I don't know of anybody that graduates and gets hired as an official coach
Wow.
at the Division I level in charge of player development. When
Wow.
you
Right
you
away.
just right away, 3 months
That's crazy.
after he was done playing.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, so we'll kind of let that, speak for itself, but it didn't just come naturally. He had some natural instincts, but, he's in an athletic family, but a lot of it was just surrounding himself like Springer. He constantly watched and learned and was able to apply, and he was very coachable. And then he grew up in a positive environment, everything that we've already been talking about. So it just nurtured itself and he had the skill sets to go with it, which you have to have a certain amount of skill to play this game. Skill can be developed, but you got to have a minimal skill set, right? Otherwise you get cut.
Right.
So yeah, all those things kind of matched up and you had what you had.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, did you folks have players that you were really like super proud of because they had such a big transformation where you knew they had the ability and the aptitude and all the other stuff and but they got kind of hung up and stuck and then they were able to like get it to click for them. Do you both have examples of that?
I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was, when I was coaching with the Blue Jays, and I was like the mental coach there for 8 years, and I brought every kid into the room and talked to them about them for, 10, 15 minutes on an audio. Like we give ourselves way too much credit to remember what we're taught. So as a coach, if you know you make somebody good, get something on audio with that kid. And you don't live with them. And it's just fun to see how kids, react to the playing every single day, and five at bats a day, every day, whether you want them or not. And I could go over a list of names that'll blow you away on big league all stars that have called me, and you think that they got it all figured out, and you'd be shocked how insecure, a lot of big leaguers are. You'd be
Wow.
shocked
Wow.
because it's the same thing. It's the same mental stuff. It's just at a higher level. I felt when I was at the Blue Jays, I could have told 100 kids to go stand in the corner and they would have rushed over there because they knew every word out of my mouth was trying to help them play in the big leagues and be a good person. That's about as simple as it gets. But when all of a sudden you see, a young kid, Jet Williams is one of my guys now. His dad bought him my stuff when he was in the eighth grade, and first round pick with the Mets, got traded to Milwaukee, and he's in AAA right now, and he's off to not the greatest start. But I
Okay.
guarantee you, non-confident Jet hasn't played a game yet. That's just baseball, man. We're going to go into some funks. People like to say slump. Slumps yesterday. No, I got a new game, new pitcher, new hero tonight. You might be in a funk, but there's no such thing as a slump when you think the way I think.
Mm.
You know.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Um, that's pretty magical because that's a reframe. And a lot of times we talk about words matter, right? The nervous system only can respond to words, right? And different things. So when you can, a slump is makes it black and white. If it's a learning moment or something, where you can have a teachable moment within that, then you could always see it as useful. They said, Kobe Bryant, are you more of a guy who wants to win or is afraid to lose? Which one is it? He goes, neither. He says, I'm just wanting to get better.
Uh,
Like I just
I'll
want
give
to
you. I'll
focus
give
on getting.
you. I'll give you a quick story on AJ Pollock. AJ Pollock could recite my stuff. He knows what I'm going to say before I say it. He called me twice a week his whole career. And at the end of his career, he shot me a text. He said, Spring, it's been a tough 2 weeks, but I will line out 5 times tonight. Because that's what I tell these guys to do. See if you can line out 5 times. Good hitters line out more. And I know what he meant, but what he really said was he's still thinking about the last 2 weeks being tough. So I called him up. I'm like, really, buddy? Last 2 weeks being tough? I got to do game, new pitcher, new hero tonight. No part of the last season. He was almost embarrassed. He's like, Spring, my bad, man. I get it. I'll line out 5 times tonight. And I get a text from him after the game. He said, Spring, my bad. I only lined out once. He went 4 for 5 with a bomb and two doubles. Like, well, what's going to be a tough 3 weeks? But this is where we want. This is where the media wants you. This is where it's human nature to think about the bad. I mean, the first time Paul Goldschmidt called me, he was 1 for 20 at the time. I've never even seen him swing the bat. I said, bro, your career starts tonight. When you say I don't care what I hit, I said the batting average was the biggest trap in the game. He was 1 for 20. I said if you go 3 for 4 tonight, now you're 4 for 24, and the media still thinks you suck. I said two things going to happen if you're not the best competitor on the field tonight. He said what? I said one, you have zero chance of being the best player in the field. I said two, you're cheating your teammates because they need the right Goldsmith playing tonight. And I went on for like 20 seconds, and he stopped me. He said, Spring, hold on. He said, you knocked me on my butt 20 seconds ago when you said I'm cheating my teammates. I don't like that feeling. I'm like, well, then don't do it. Be the best competitor on the field tonight, bro. This is not something we got to work on. This is a choice tonight. Well, thank God he got 2 hits. Right now, he's texting me, hey, Spring, what do you got, babe? He started a 17-game hitting streak that now with 8 home runs. He called me his whole career. And I've never asked him to get 3 hits. I've asked him to be the best competitor on the field with an attainable goal, hit the ball hard, attack the inside part of his speed you're looking for. And the most important thing is you're there to help your team win the game tonight. That's it.
So he needed to call you just to have some reminders sometimes.
There's something about going 0 for 4, bro, where you lose your memory. It's in our DNA. It's in our
Oh,
DNA.
wow, that's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I nailed it 25 years ago when I called the bad and average Satan. It's evil, but it's not going away, right? You just got you got to not think about it as much, and when you buy into to the little mental tricks that we talk about, man, I mean, what's the alternative? Oh, it's all about me. What am I hitting? I always felt I had to hit 300 and then do everything right and go 0 for 4, and then do nothing right and go 0 for 4. And now I'm supposed to compete with confidence. How do you do it?
Right.
I know how you do
It's
it.
bipolar.
You play an I don't give a crap mode,
Yeah.
and you get great at lining out because good hitters line out more.
Right.
If you're not lining out one time a game, bro, you ain't that good a hitter. Like Trent, you ever line out and somebody says, "Way to swing"? You're like, "Yeah, right, save it."
Yeah,
if
yeah.
there was an award at the ESPYS, like I nutted more balls than anybody in baseball, and I got a trophy for it, then when you line out and somebody says, "Way to swing," you'll say thank you.
Right.
But there ain't that award yet.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
that's why when I went over to the Blue Jays, I talked them and spent a lot of money on Best Buy gift cards. We had 3 winners per week per team. Whoever the most quality at bats got a gift card, and we had one guy go 1 for 20 and he won a card. How do you do that? He got one hit, he got a couple bunts down, helped the team. He got a couple runners over from second to third, helped the team, and he hit 7 balls right on the screws, right at somebody. And 12 for 20 will get you a card, and that was Kevin Pillar, a guy that had a 54-game hitting streak as a junior in college and did not get drafted. So if you think you got hosed, this guy got hosed. We took him as a senior, and he ends up signing for $1,000, and he was the second guy in his draft to get to the big leagues because he was a better competitor than he was a player. And he had my stuff in the 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And we had an annual award, and David Cooper won it and hit 245. But he had 20 bombs and he had 80 RBIs. And his favorite quote in what I teach is good hitters line out more. That made so much sense to him because he was lining out one time a game. It's 9 against 1. He took the same approach into AAA, didn't change a thing, and won a batting title at 367. So this is why I'm throwing out examples of stats and how evil they are. The only stat that I'm teaching players how to do right now is how many games in a row did you compete with confidence and have fun, and that is it. And it doesn't mean you get 3 hits; it means the right you is playing.
Mm. Brent,
Yeah, I want to add something real quick.
yeah,
I
go
mean,
for it, man.
it really boils down, everything he's saying is spot on. It's really about doing simple better and having
Yeah,
these mind tricks to be able to get yourself in the right space as a player. Everybody thinks there's this mathematical magical formula. Everything has to be super complicated, and everybody's searching for this, magic in a bottle when it comes to hitting. And it really boils down to just being able to simplify, what's a very difficult skill. And the mental piece is huge. And I didn't give it near enough credit when I was a player. I kind of thought a lot of it was pie in the sky, but I wasn't hearing it put in ways like it
Mm-hmm.
was more like, you know, visualize and breathe. And I was like, well, I breathe anyway. Like no one was explaining the way it's being explained right now
Right.
because I would have bought in 2 seconds had
Right.
someone
Right.
just literally broke it down for me.
Right. It wasn't
Instead,
make
it was like self survival. It was like you're playing in survival mode almost,
yes.
you know,
Yep.
and you prepare and you compete, but there was like no freedom to just be able to bring yourself back down when you started to struggle. Like, what could you fall back onto
Right.
when things weren't going your way,
Mm-hmm.
And like Spring is talking about the mental piece, the physical piece is a simple process, you
Mm-hmm.
know, simple process keeps you ready physically. And then you add in the mental piece and the approach piece that Spring is talking about. That is the secret sauce. We are talking about the secret sauce, but so many people are looking for something else, a magic drill, or it's weird how people think, and they will disband any logic if you talk to them about this stuff and it doesn't work. They expect immediate results, like you're supposed to go 5 for 5, as soon as you hear Spring's audio and you start.
Mm-hmm.
People just it's a tough game is what it is.
well,
Well,
betting practice flips and tee work. It's
Right.
checkers. It's checkers. We're all good at that. The chess game
Right.
starts at 7. Can you play chess? Can you figure out how to play both sides of the field? Do you have instincts? And being that, I used to think that baseball was about the mind, the approach, and mechanics in that order. I've changed it. It's about the approach, the mind, and mechanics in that order. Because I don't care how confident you are, and I don't care how good your mechanics are. If your approach sucks, you're going to lose your confidence, and your mechanics are going to break down. And if hitters out there are trying to hit the fastball, curveball, slide up, change up with an 0 count, like Trent said he used to do in college, you're
Right.
basically two strike hitting the whole at bat. Like I don't have to swing. Why am I trying to hit 95 and 79 at the same time with an 0 count? It's like my blackjack analogy. Trumbo said it's his favorite one. Is that I said too many hitters hit like they have a 16 on them with an 0 count. I'm like, bro, we're splitting aces. I don't have to swing. So why am I trying to, it's a free roll. Let's hunt a speed and be on time. I was watching the MLB channel with Cal Ripken talking. You would have thought I was in his head. He said, "Man, I would rather be wrong with my plan and have a plan than have no plan." And he's so right.
Mm. And then trusting that plan. And you were saying that, Steve, on our first podcast, you were talking about how this plan, you were really trying to get it. And then one day you actually got it.
Uh,
So in other words, something clicked. Can you just run us through that again, just so we have a
well,
sense of that?
I think the thing that clicked for me when I finally figured out that the batting average was the biggest trap in the game. And I think when people hear me say that, they think that I don't think the batting average is important. You couldn't be more wrong. I believe it's very important. And I could tell if you get hit by what your batting average is. But I just know what it does to you mentally when you think you have to hit 300 and you go 0 for 4 and do everything right. And then you do go 0 or do nothing right and go 0 for 4. And now you're 0 for 8. And non-confident you starts playing because you're chasing that little number 300. And it's like when I finally said, I don't even care anymore, my production doubled. I still hit between 260 and 290, but instead of 4 to 8 home runs a year, now I got 16, 70, 30, 40 RBIs. Now I got 70, 80.
Wow.
And I wanted the fifth at bat, every
Okay.
game.
Uh,
You get what I'm talking about, Bo, when you want the fifth at bat.
yes.
And that's when heroes are made and it's more fun. See, too many players are playing this game like they're in trouble. Like it's a
Oh,
3 hour time, like it's a three
whoa.
hour timeout. Nobody's in trouble.
Wow.
How about the ride home with the mom and dad, and after you're like Vanderbilt's panicking when your 10-year-old has a bad weekend, and now
Mhm.
the kid's playing with tension, anxiety, and pressure instead of calmness, toughness, focus, having some fun. It's one of my lines when I speak. You want to play with tension, anxiety, and pressure, bro? Go join the military when you're 18, because that's where that's at. God bless them. We're playing baseball. Nobody's in trouble, and somewhere on the line, we've turned it into a 3 hour timeout. And it's just, too many kids quit this game at 13 years old because of the pressure that's put on them by the one who loves them the most, us parents, and Johnny Testosterone coach yelling at my 12-year-old to win the Burger King championship. And now the kid doesn't even want to play anymore. And the parents like, what happened? I don't know what happened. I'm like, I do. You're a friggin' whack job. That's what happened.
Mhm.
And now the kid wants to play again at 17 and he just lost 4 years of instincts. And he's got this great body. And he quit with his little kid body, 50
Oof.
pounds away. So
What is, you guys saw Field of Dreams, right?
Oh yeah, many
Okay, so
times.
sometimes you have to give up your dream to get your destiny, I think, right? There's that thing where the doctor comes to the girl's choking and he has to decide if he steps over the line, he becomes a Major League Baseball player. Um, if he steps over the line, he becomes a doctor. If he stays on the field, he's a Major League Baseball player, but he realizes it's about his destiny is to help the girl. And so what do you think? Do you guys ever wonder, like, if you didn't make the choices you made, what your life would have turned out to be like? Or do you feel like you're living what you're meant to be and what you're meant to do? Is this your life by design?
I guarantee Trent is. He's one of the top college or high school coaches in the country. He should be a D1 head coach, in my opinion. I think God put us where we're at right now. I think God put me in AAA for 11 years to do exactly right what I'm doing right now. Because at the time, I'm like, really, God, 11 years, huh?
Wow.
And now, whether I'm talking to a dad of a 10-year-old or a major league all-star, my message is the same. And how to compete with confidence when the stuff isn't going right is what I sort of learned how to do and how to teach. And he's given me the ability to speak, and I love it. I speak all over the country to the top
Mhm.
colleges, travel ball, whatever.
Mhm.
And I believe I'm right where I need to be. I believe God protected me from me because I would have been on that 86 team with the Mets. I was in AAA.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel the same. I mean, I've thought many times for me to be a major league player, my life would have had to be all about me. Having a wife, having a family, helping others. I wasn't gifted enough. I would have had to be self-consumed. And I don't like looking now at what that means. Life is deeper than that. It's more important than just being all about you every single day and not even being able to have relationships. I mean, I would have been so self-absorbed. I would have had to be. Just wasn't skilled enough. But I was blessed to be just good enough throughout my years to be a sponge and to be a seeker of information and to want to. God gave me the ability to speak and teach in a way that's people understand and can apply. At least that's what I've been told. And I've become a teacher, and that's kind of in my genes through my family. And I love sharing and growing and teaching. We have to pay it forward. Will we got to pass the game on? And in a lot of ways, I feel like that's not happening in a good enough way. I feel like there's a generational skip. There's not a respect of the game. There's not nearly enough people playing the game of baseball. They're playing chess. Excuse me, they're playing checkers when they should be playing chess. Um, how far can I hit it? How hard can I hit it? How hard can I throw it? Yeah, those things are great. But can you control your barrel and go with a pitch backside? Can you execute hit and run, suicide squeeze? Can you pick people off? Can you hold runners on? Can you execute a tandem relay? Can you do a rundown properly? Can you play this game? Can you compete with two strikes? All these things that make baseball great, I think are sometimes, a lot of times being lost these days. But I feel like that's my calling. High school was the level I chose. I would love to coach in college. I'm going to coach this summer. I've coached some college in the past, summer league stuff, but never full-time college coach. And that's on my bucket list if it's meant to be, if that's in God's plan. So we'll see what happens as the
Awesome.
years progress here.
Thank you. So, Steve, I know you have to head to a game in a few minutes. So, I want to thank you both. And it's about the love of the game, right? Bringing it back to the love of the game and the purity of the game. And I think you did a great job, the both of you really showing your love and passion for this game of baseball. So, Trent and Steve, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today, joining us here. This is your host, Will Cook, signing off from the Will to Win podcast. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Will.
See you guys. See you, Will.